Imagine the scene. The sun is setting over the battered walls of Troy. The air is heavy with the dust of a decade-long siege, and the spirits of both Greeks and Trojans are worn thin. For 10 years, the greatest warriors of the Greek world, Agamemnon, Achilles, Odysseus, Menelaus, have thrown themselves against the city's mighty defenses. For 10 years, the Trojans, led by wise old King Priam, have watched from the ramparts, hopeful yet wary, as their enemies tried and failed to breach their sanctuaries. The Greeks, masters of war and cunning, have been held at bay by the formidable walls that legend says were built by the gods themselves. But this evening, something is different. The shoreline where the Greek encampment once stretched is eerily empty. The sound of clashing swords and war cries has faded, replaced by the silence of anticipation. In front of the great Scaean gate, an enormous wooden horse stands as if conjured from myth. It is a magnificent sight, towering, gleaming in the fading light, a marvel of craftsmanship and ingenuity. Beside it, a single Greek, Sinon, waits, ready to spin a tale so persuasive it will echo through history. The Trojans, for all their caution, are exhausted. 10 years is a lifetime, and the city is weary of fear and death. As they gaze upon the horse, curiosity mingles with relief. Could it be over? Has the enemy finally abandoned the cause? Priam, old but not yet broken, descends from his palace to inspect the mysterious gift. His advisors and warriors gather around, uncertain but hopeful. Among them is Cassandra, the prophetess cursed to see the truth but never to be believed. She warns of danger, her voice urgent, but her warnings dissolve into the evening breeze, dismissed as the ravings of a troubled mind. Sinon, the clever Greek left behind, begins to weave his story. He claims the Greeks have indeed given up, their spirits broken by the length of the war and the loss of their greatest hero, Achilles. The wooden horse, he says, is an offering to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, meant to ensure a safe voyage home. It is built so large, he claims, to prevent the Trojans from taking it into their city and thereby angering the goddess. His words are honeyed, his eyes wide with feigned sincerity. The Trojans, eager for hope, latch on to his every word. Here's the first irony. For a decade, the Trojans have relied on their walls and their wisdom, their skepticism and strength. Now, at the moment of their supposed victory, they let down their guard, lulled by the very thing that should have aroused suspicion, a gift from their enemies. The horse is not a symbol of peace, but a vessel of war, a masterstroke of psychological manipulation. The Trojans debate. Some urge caution. Others, intoxicated by the prospect of victory, press for the horse to be brought inside the city as a trophy. Laocoon, a priest of Apollo, dares to voice his suspicion. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts, he warns, but his voice is drowned out by the clamor. In a twist worthy of tragedy, Laocoon and his sons are suddenly attacked and killed by giant serpents sent by the gods, a sign interpreted by the Trojans as divine approval of the horse. The Trojans, convinced they are favored by fate, open the gates and haul the enormous structure into their city. Night falls. The Trojans celebrate, feasting and drinking, convinced that the long nightmare is finally over. They toast to victory, to peace, to the future. The city, which has known little but vigilance and sorrow for a decade, is alive with joy. Yet in the darkness, a different kind of anticipation stirs. Within the belly of the horse, Greek warriors, Odysseus, Menelaus, and their bravest companions, wait in silence, their hearts pounding with the knowledge that the fate of Troy hangs on their shoulders. Outside the walls, the Greek fleet, which had pretended to sail away, waits just out of sight. Under the cover of night, they row quietly back to shore, ready to complete their final act. As midnight approaches, the city sleeps. Only the sentries on the ramparts remain awake, and even their vigilance is dulled by celebration. Sinon, true to his word, slips to the gates and unlocks them from within. The warriors emerge from the horse, silent and swift. They signal to the waiting army outside. The Greeks pour into the city, catching the Trojans utterly unprepared. In the chaos that follows, Troy burns. The city's proud towers crumble, its temples crack, its people run in terror through the streets. King Priam, who had ruled for decades with dignity and resolve, meets his end in the sanctuary of Zeus. The royal family is scattered, their fate sealed by the choices of a single night. The irony is complete. A city that could not be taken by force, a people who had withstood the greatest army of their age, are undone by their own willingness to believe a comforting story. The Greeks, who failed in every conventional assault, succeed through cunning, manipulation, and the exploitation of hope. Let us pause and consider what truly happened here. The Trojan horse was not merely a feat of engineering, it was a work of narrative genius. The Greeks did not just build a structure, they built a myth, a story so compelling that it overrode the Trojans' doubts and logic. It was theater, psychology, and warfare all rolled into one. The true weapon was not wood or bronze, but belief itself. The story of the Trojan horse reminds us that human beings are, above all, storytellers. We crave meaning, seek patterns, and look for signs, especially in times of uncertainty. The Greeks understood this. They crafted a narrative that appealed to the Trojans' deepest desires: the end of suffering, the hope of peace, the idea that the gods favored them after all. And in reaching for that hope, the Trojans lost everything. What makes the fall of Troy so enduring is not just its tragedy, but its resonance through time. This single act, born of desperation, executed with cunning, became a metaphor for every unexpected betrayal, every hidden danger, every time trust is abused. The phrase Trojan horse has entered our language as a warning, a symbol of how the things we invite in with open arms can sometimes be our undoing. The lessons of Troy echo into our modern world. In politics, in business, in our personal lives, we are surrounded by stories, some true, some crafted to deceive. We are offered gifts that seem too good to be true, narratives that flatter our hopes and play to our fears. The Greeks at Troy taught us that warfare is not always about armies and weapons. Sometimes it is about ideas, about planting a seed in the mind that grows into certainty. There is another layer to this story, a warning against hubris, the overconfidence that blinds us to danger. The Trojans believed in the strength of their walls, their traditions, their gods. They forgot that the greatest threats are often those we do not see, the dangers that lie within the stories we choose to believe. The fall of Troy also speaks to the power of adaptability. The Greeks, faced with failure after failure, did not give up. Instead, they changed tactics, thinking not with their swords, but with their minds. It was Odysseus, famed for his wit and cunning, who devised the plan. In the end, it was intelligence, not brute strength, that won the day. In our own time, the Trojan horse is more than a legend. It is a metaphor for the subtle dangers that come disguised as opportunities, for the persuasive stories that can lead whole societies astray, for the importance of questioning even the most appealing narratives. In technology, we speak of Trojan horses, malware hidden within harmless-looking programs. In politics, we see movements and leaders who promise what we most want to hear, only to reveal hidden motives. In our personal lives, we encounter offers and relationships that seem wonderful, but may conceal risk. The enduring power of the Trojan horse lies in its universality. We are all, in some way, Trojans, eager for victory, hungry for peace, vulnerable to the stories that comfort us. And we are all, at times, Greeks, seeking ways to overcome obstacles, using creativity and storytelling to achieve our goals. Yet there is hope in this story as well. The fall of Troy was not the end. From its ashes, new tales arose. Aeneas, a Trojan prince, escaped the burning city and, according to legend, journeyed to Italy, where his descendants would found Rome. The destruction of one world gave birth to another. The lesson is not simply one of caution, but of resilience, the knowledge that even in the face of catastrophe, new beginnings are possible. As we reflect on the events of that fateful night in 1184 BCE, let us remember the true power of the Trojan horse. It was not the wood, the soldiers, or even the plan itself, but the narrative, the story that captivated a people and led them to open their gates. It reminds us to be vigilant, to question what we are told, to look beyond the surface. It teaches us that the greatest victories and the greatest defeats often begin in the mind. So the next time you hear a story that seems too perfect, a gift that seems too generous, or a victory that comes too easily, think of Troy. Remember the walls that stood for a decade, the city that believed itself invincible, the people who let down their guard for a single night and lost everything. Remember that the greatest threats are often those we welcome in, that the most dangerous stories are the ones we most want to believe. And yet also remember the Greeks, persistent, adaptable, unafraid to change their strategy when all else failed. Their triumph was not just one of trickery, but of imagination. In a world where force could not win, they turned to the power of the mind, to the art of persuasion, to the crafting of a narrative that would echo through millennia. The Trojan Horse endures not because it was a clever trick, but because it captures something essential about the human experience: the interplay between trust and deception, hope and fear, confidence and caution. It is a story about the dangers of complacency, but also about the value of ingenuity. It warns us to be watchful, but also inspires us to think creatively, to look for solutions beyond the obvious. In the end, the fall of Troy is a mirror. It reflects our own vulnerabilities, our own desires, our own capacity for both wisdom and folly. It challenges us to ask, what are the stories we believe? What are the gifts we accept without question? And what might we do if faced with a challenge no force can overcome, to outwit fate itself? As the embers of Troy's great towers fade into the night and the Greeks sail home with their victory, the lesson remains. In every age, in every place, there is a Trojan horse waiting at the gate, an opportunity, a danger, a story waiting to be told. It is up to us to decide whether we will welcome it in or stand watch at the walls, ever mindful, ever questioning, ever ready.
If this video sparked your curiosity, share your thoughts in the comments, like and share with your fellow historians. If you want to explore more history glitches, hit that subscribe button.